is Bridget again with Bridget Breaking Barriers, and I am super excited about the second week of producing through the pandemic. I'm excited because today we will be talking about maximizing your health while you're at home. I don't know about you, but I'm sure that there have been many of struggles in regards to adjusting to this new normal. And so I wanted to make sure that you were equipped, as well as myself, as we go through this new normal and just helping us just to navigate so that we're able to come out on the other side of this better. I am super excited to introduce you to this week's master class, or master, I'll say, Dr. Maria Bloodworth Graham.
Hi, hello. Thank you
Super excited.
so much. Oh, I'm excited too. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on Bridget Breaking Barriers, talking about just being healthy during the pandemic. Like, this is great, a great idea. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being willing. It could have been another way. So I'm just grateful that you're here to share some of your expertise. And so let's start out by telling everyone a little bit about yourself, because I'm sure not everyone knows you. So just introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself.
All right. Again, like Bridget said, my name is Dr. Maria Bloodworth Graham. I am a pharmacist by trade. I graduated from Florida A&M University College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Science. I had to plug them in. You know I did.
Gotta love those HBCUs, right?
Right, exactly. I've been a pharmacist for almost over 10 years now. I worked in different areas of pharmacy, community pharmacy, and a community champion. I spent a couple of years doing diabetes education in some of the churches here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we really talked about maximizing your health and having realistic goals in order to live a healthy lifestyle. So I'm excited about this today. Currently, I'm helping women in business live their life to their full potential. When I say that you have a life physically, mentally, and spiritually, we want to help you live your best life, whatever you define as your best life. So I'm here and happy to be with you.
We are definitely happy to have you. So just before we even get started and get into the nitty gritty, I want to take some time to just talk about Bridget Breaking Barriers. So, I started the blog some time back, and I actually did a video with you some time back. We did an interview with Bridget Breaking Barriers. So that was super exciting. So if you haven't checked that out, please definitely go to YouTube and search
Dr. Maria Graham.
Dr. Maria Graham, Bridget Breaking Barriers, and you can check that out. That was a couple years ago. Wow.
Yes.
So you can definitely go check that out and learn a little bit more about Bridget Breaking Barriers. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, how have you been breaking barriers in your life?
Great question. Well, one way that I've been breaking barriers is that I lost over 50 pounds. Over 50 pounds. So I don't know exactly how much.
Push pause. We got to let that sink in. How much?
Over 50 pounds.
What?
And I say over 50 because I don't know the exact number. And I know we can probably talk about this later, but in the beginning, I was so overweight, I was ashamed to step on the scale. So that's something we could talk about later, because I know some other people experience it, but that is my breaking barrier. For the last 2 years, I've been on this physical journey myself.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. And I know that you talk a lot more about that journey as well as other journeys in your life with your new vlog that you started. And so we can talk about that a little bit later as well. So I'm excited to have you. And so we can go ahead and just start out by talking a little bit more about, why should someone want to start on a physical health journey? What were some of the reasons why you started in your journey?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. Well, one thing I told myself and I tell my patients is that physical health changes everything in your life. And you're like, I know people are like, what do you mean? Like, Maria, it changes everything, because you get more mental clarity. You are able to participate in different events that you might not normally could have before you became physical healthy. But overall, your self-esteem, your confidence. I remember just even starting to exercise. And when I started to exercise, I decided to take just decided to apply for a job that I normally wouldn't apply for, just because I had more self-confidence from exercising. So it's physical health encompasses so much in your life that if you start to do it, you'll be surprised your mindset, your journey, how it would take you into different levels, and you meet different people as well. So it brings you another sense of community.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And so you shared a little bit about some of the different benefits that there are to exercise. So I appreciate that. Also, I wanted to ask you, so how did you actually, or what made you get to a point where you wanted to get started? Like making it serious, I guess. I'll share a little bit about my health journey in regards to, it's like a love-hate relationship. Like, sometimes I start out well, but then I don't necessarily want to finish. So I guess that's a great question as well. So tell us a little bit about what motivated you to actually get started, and what's keeping you consistent with that motivation.
Wow, those are two good. Yeah, great. Because it is a journey. It's, I've never say it's a diet, it's a lifestyle change. And what made me want to get started was a couple things that made me want to get started. So first of all, I went on vacation with my husband and his family, and we took a family picture. And at that moment, and I sent you that picture too, at that moment, I didn't realize how heavy I had gotten. Like, I knew I was like having trouble breathing. I knew that I just didn't feel my best self. And I was like, this is me. Is this who I've become? Because previously, before I got married, I lost a lot of weight. And then once we got married, and most people, you lose yourself in love, and you doing everything, and you cooking all those good Sunday dinners, but you cooking them Monday through Friday and then again on Sunday, right? So I kind of got lost in doing stuff for, everybody else, or trying to be, I guess, what you consider the best wife, but I forgot to take care of myself. So instead of me going to exercise like I used to normally exercise, I would say, okay, well, dinner has to be at this time. No, dinner didn't have to be at that time.
Yeah.
It was more so me realizing, wow, like I have gained this much weight. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing, one of my best friends was getting married. So she got married a couple years ago, and I was really self-conscious about being in her wedding because I knew that her other bridesmaids had lost. They were either already naturally, healthy or skinny, and being skinny doesn't mean you're healthy. So let me just say that right now. But the appearance of being healthy. And then everybody else had lost such a significant amount of weight. And I was so ashamed just to even be in the wedding that really kind of said, okay, Maria, I need to get focused. So those two things really kind of changed it for me.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. What were you about to say?
No, I was going to say, as far as consistency, is that it's a journey. Like, I tell people every day, or I tell people you can have the chips. I'm not saying not have the chips. I'm just saying you can't have them every day. Or, portion size. And if you mess up, guess what? There's another meal you're going to eat that day. If you mess up at breakfast, you got lunch. Eat that at lunch. I started by doing something one by one. So each week I started with something different to help me on this journey. And I still have more work to do, of course, but it never was all or nothing, if that makes sense.
That's great. Great point. And I love the fact that you have given yourself grace in this whole process. Just grace to make some mistakes along the way, and to not stay there, but to get back up and continue to try again. So I think that's relatable for me for me to continue to try and push in that direction. One other thing that you talked a little bit about was the fact that you had to get to a point where you were doing it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the importance is for somebody else? Sometimes our self-esteem, we can put it in other people. So when it's dependent on what other people are saying about us, which has a determination in regards to how we feel. So speak a little bit about, I guess, doing it for yourself, so that you can feel good and not necessarily for other people.
Absolutely. I think it's more mental. I think it was more so mental and spiritual. I'm like, okay, God, how do you want me to be? Because the person I am right now is not who I feel you've called me to be. I always have had a kind of sense of being health conscious, even like when I was younger. And my family makes this joke. They used to make this joke when I was younger, like, Maria's going to be that sibling that's going to have tofu for Thanksgiving. They always used to make that joke. And I'm like, what? Why do you guys say that?
Not tofu.
I'm like, why? Even to this day, my brother would come over, eat. He's like, is there any tofu in this food? I just want to make sure. But, even though he knows that I really cook Southern meals too, but he's like, okay, are we having healthy dinner today? Or is this like but it was really so much so that I had to really look inside and say, what do I want my life to look like? Because right now, I don't like how I'm looking. I don't like how I feel. And I really had to, and honestly, I didn't tell people. I did not even tell my husband that I was on this health and wellness journey, because I didn't want anyone to come in and dictate how I was going to be on this journey. And let me say why I say that, because he's like, he's in or out. Like, if I say I'm on a lifestyle change, he's like, oh, you eating that piece of cake? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then, I didn't tell him until a month later. Like, when he was like, gosh, you look like you're losing weight. I'm like, yes. And somebody else might say, well, that's your support system. He absolutely is. But I had to realize I was doing it for me. And I didn't need anyone else to come into my circle and dictate how I was going to go on my own personal journey. So
that's great. Actually, that's a great point. That's a really good point, actually. And you know what else I appreciated about your story was that you brought God into the whole process with you, to kind of say, okay, God, I know this is not the life that you intend for me to live. Help me? How can you help me? And so tell us a little bit more about you allowing God to come with you on this journey.
That's good. So one thing I and I still do, I pray like before I eat. Like, in the morning, I'm like, even when I'm thanking God for waking me up this morning, I'm like, God, I thank you that I'm healthy. God, I'm thanking you that I make healthy choices. God, I thank you for when I eat my breakfast today, I'm going to have a piece of fruit. And somebody else might say that's kind of, they may not get it. But for me, it's a reminder of, if I'm going to be, making disciples of men, then I need to be in my best physical shape. So we constantly remind myself, even when I eat, like, thank you, God, for allowing me to, one, have this meal, but also be healthy in this meal. So I pray a lot. In the beginning, I read Bible verses regarding, and you can go like on Pinterest or anywhere else, like regarding Bible verses with like self-control, or Bible verses with regarding eating and stuff like that. So and I'm, like I said, I'm not a biblical scholar, but even it talks about like gluttony in the Bible. Like, so I'm like, and sometimes I have to check myself, like, Maria, you had like 3 servings of chips. Like, what would Jesus do? I don't know.
Good point.
Right. But I really just had to pray about it. And I have to ask for forgiveness and grace, like, grace. But that's how I started out. And I still do that to this day.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I think about too is just, I guess, making sure that you are doing things that will please him, but also understanding that he created you for more, and for you to make sure that whatever you're putting in your body is still a spiritual thing,
Yes.
And one thing also too that I had to think about is the reason why you're doing certain things. So
Mhm.
eating that second cupcake, why are you really eating that second cupcake? Are
Right.
you trying to, like, is that your way of trying to kind of like deal with something
Yeah.
that you're not really dealing with, you know, so you're
Right.
eating. So those are just some things that we all have to just kind of look behind the reason why we're doing things,
Yeah.
which is why it's really, really good for you to make sure that you allow God to come into that. So one thing that I wanted to for you to share is a little bit about some nutritional tips that you can give to everyone. We're all sitting at home. The chips are looking really, really good. The broccoli's not so much, you know. So what are some things that we can do? Some tips that you can give us in regards to nutrition?
Very good question, and that is so true. Even in my house, I'm like, I think my husband brought like a big bag of chips the other day. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is not how we roll. But in all honesty, most people are emotional eaters. So let's start there. So a lot of people are emotional eaters. So this pandemic itself, you're being home, like what on Friday you were at work with your coworkers. By Monday, you are sitting at home. Now you have your kids, and you have kids. Now you have working from home, and sometimes you have more work from home than you did when you actually were at your physical job.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of stressors now, and people are emotionally eating. So one thing I would say is to be mindful. And are you really hungry? Like, ask yourself the question, am I really hungry, or am I just bored? Or am I stressed out about something? And I have to even say that to myself, because you can get stressed out watching the news. Somebody might be jumping on the couch when you're really trying to have this meeting, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a coping mechanism. Food is. It releases hormones, just like when you do physical exercise. It releases those feel-good hormones, so to speak.
Mm.
And so one thing I tell people to do, one thing is cut yourself some slack. Just cut yourself some slack. This is a time that we're going through that we do not know what's going to happen from day to day. That's just being realistic. So when you say cut yourself slack, what does that mean? If you're only maintaining your weight during this time home, high five, girl.
Right.
Maintain your weight. You know what I'm saying? If you decide today have to only have one cupcake instead of two, high five, girl. You only ate one cupcake today. So stuff like that. But then also too, I'm big on, I kind of brought props because you know how I am. I'm big on, like, if you eat chips, I like chips. That is my, like, Achilles heel. Like, that's my thing. I like chips. So what I tell, like, my husband and I, when we go grocery shopping, get like the individual package size. This is one serving size of chips. Incorporate like serving sizes in your diet. Also too, when you're cooking meals, use like a measuring cup. You know how you cook and you use like the big spoon to spoon out your food on your plate. I use a measuring cup to spoon out my food, so I can visually see, like, okay, I'm having more than one cup of rice. From the South, we love rice.
Right.
Right. Now I substituted with brown rice. We have it with every meal. But I do more brown rice than anything now. Well, that's the only thing I do. But I measure it out. And I also have a scale. Like, we live by this scale. So those are a couple things. And you say, Maria, I don't have all this stuff. I get it. I understand that. But if you don't, make your colorful plate. Have a colorful plate. Even the American Heart Association talks about a colorful plate. And you say, well, why does your plate have to be colorful? Because most of your fruits and vegetables are colored. They have a color. So then you're getting your nutrients from them. So that's why they say have a colorful plate. Also, too, have more fruits and vegetables on your plate than your meat at times. Or I know that they also have, like, on the American Heart Association or the Diabetes Association, they have like a sample plate where you can go in and see, what portion of each type of food group that you can have. But those are a couple of tips I always tell people. Just be creative with your meals. At this time, you're home, you can learn different recipes. You can see how to substitute different things. I'm really big on like tacos. I love tacos and stuff. So Some nights, instead of having like a queso with it, I might just have salsa with it. You know, just those substitutions make a huge deal. You might not think they do, but if you're counting calories or you trying to count calories, just minor substitutions. Even when you bake, if you're baking, because I don't know if you read the news, like they say that more people are baking right now.
Yeah, my coworker was telling me about that.
So even substituting different things when you bake, like applesauce and it's like instead of using a whole bunch of sugar, you can use like the honey or even Splenda. So what's not Splenda, stevia, stuff like that. Just those substitutions. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Actually, I remember some time back, instead of doing an actual taco, I used lettuce as the actual taco. I used some lettuce, so that's another way of substituting. So I do try and do that every now and then. So those are great tips. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I know that everything that's going on, this whole pandemic, some people are stressed, some people are happy, some people are just don't know how to be, they're kind of all over the place. And there's just so many different stressors that go along with this. I wanted to ask you to kind of give a little word of encouragement. What are some things that you would say to someone else to help encourage them, whether it's physical health or even their spiritual health, just making sure that they are mentally where they're supposed to be?
One thing I would tell people is you are going to be okay. We're going to be okay. It's all about perspective. That's my word for this time. I always like a word for the year or a phrase for the year. But during this time, like my phrase for the year was the year to conquer the challenge. That was the phrase. So now that I found myself at home, I had to come up with a new phrase. Like, and so the phrase is, it's all about perspective. So it's okay those days that you have those. I mean, it's like you're going on an emotional roller coaster. Like Monday, you on a high, then on Tuesday, here we go again. Wednesday, you're doing something different. So I want to tell people it's going to be okay. Like go outside and take a walk with a mask on and practice social distancing. But, in your neighborhood, take a walk, kind of smell the roses. Sit on your porch, or sit on your, in the backyard. Do more Zoom meetings. Even I'm to the point now, I ride my bike. I haven't rode my bicycle in years because I used to going to the gym. But just doing something that you normally don't do to just build your confidence even during this time.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So before we close, I wanted to ask another question of you. So during this pandemic, what would you say that you've learned about yourself?
Ooh. I've learned that that I'm an emotional eater. And that I already knew that, but I didn't know to what extent. Like, I know I'm an emotional eater, so I try to limit certain things. But now I'm forced to head on daily because, like, I'm home, I'm trying to figure out we're trying to figure out different things. So I had to kind of put in place to keep my peace. And what does that mean to keep my own peace? Doing different things, as in reading my Bible more, talking to friends more. It really helped me. It's helping me deal with being an emotional eater in a different way. So I'm even practicing more mindful eating myself, because in the beginning of this pandemic, I started, like, I bake anyway, but I started like baking more than usual in myself. And so now I'm like, I still bake just because it's a calming mechanism for me. But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut this cake in half and slices, and then I'm going to wrap it up and put it in the freezer, or just I'm mindful of that now. So that was one of the things I really realized, like, whoa, I really am an emotional eater.
Thank you for sharing that freezing thing. I need to Consider that. That's a good idea because I stay at home by myself. So a lot of times I don't do certain things. Like I wouldn't cook a cake unless or bake a cake unless somebody was coming over to the house or it's going to be some type of celebration. Like it's not something I would just do on my own. Even brownies, I won't necessarily do a whole bunch of brownies because it's going to end up going in a trash can because, you know, over time, you know, you
Right,
don't
right,
really
right.
want that or whatever. So that's great advice to freeze some things. So the other thing that I wanted you to share before we close out is if you would share a little bit about how people can find you, if they wanted to follow you, anything that you might have coming up. I know you recently just had a lunch and learn, which was really, really great. So if you can share a little bit more about that and some other things that you might have going on.
Of course. Again, thank you for this platform and being here with you today. A couple things how people can reach me. I'm on YouTube. I started a new YouTube channel, Dr. Maria Graham on YouTube, or on Instagram, Dr. Maria Graham. You can find me there, or even on Facebook, I'm Maria Bloodworth Graham. I respond to every email, every message. I'm just really hands-on. I mean, I love Jesus and I love people. So if you contact me, I will respond. One thing that we have going on right now is the Lunch and Learn series. So bi-weekly, we have an expert come on and they talk about different things that's going to help you not only during the pandemic, but after the pandemic. You can join or watch the replay. You can join our Facebook group, the P2P Network, where it's a network of women in business, where they come together and share ideas. And so we just recently had a phenomenal speaker on. She is a part of the Small Business Administration here in Charlotte. She's on their advisory board and she's a business consultant. So she talked about different things about how to deal with the pandemic. So you can go back and catch that. And so we have a couple more coming up in the next week as well. So you can just reach out, stay connected so you can see when that's coming. Anything else I want to say? One thing is, and I don't know if you're going to you might ask this question or not, but make sure you still are practicing social distancing. Like, guys, we do not know. Now, this is Dr. Maria talking right now, okay? We do not know everything about this virus yet. And I know that a lot of states are opening up, but the reality is, especially for people of minorities, this is affecting us at a alarming rate more than any other community. We have to take this seriously. And the reason why is because we have other conditions, underlying healthcare conditions that can make this thing worse. So I just want people to stay home. You know, listen, I go get my hair done every 2 weeks. I miss my stylist more than anything in this world, okay? But I know how serious this is. So I just want to tell people, stay home. If you have to go grocery shopping, if you have to go out, wear a mask. Even if you're doing physical fitness outside, wear a mask. I don't necessarily say gloves, because if you don't know how to properly take them off, if you touching everything else, that point is useless. But wash your hands frequently. 20 seconds. I sing happy birthday when I when I wash my hands. I was doing that before, but really take this serious, because it's really affecting us in an alarming rate. And if you say, Maria, or I'm healthy, I'm young, I can do my thing, great, but it's affecting the young and the old. And I want my parents to be protected. So please stay home. So when my dad sees you in the store, because he's going, so he will be safe, okay?
I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people don't necessarily get, is that although you might be okay, you could be you could actually have the virus and not know it. You just might not have the symptoms, but you can still actually give it to somebody else who perhaps might not be as healthy as you. So it's important for you to not only protect yourself, but protect other people around you, and make sure that you're distancing yourself.
Yes.
So.
Social distance is important.
Yes. Well, thank you. I have to end because I didn't start out by talking about a little bit about how I know you. So, of course, I've known. I'll be respectful and say Dr. Maria, but she is just Maria to me. And so I've known her as long as I can remember. I've known her. We've done lots of different things together, and in our adulthood, I think we've probably grown even closer. Just being able to share with one another, whether we needed some advice or insight or wanted to bounce an idea off of each other. So I just wanted to speak to friendship and just having friendship. Even during this time, it's important for you to connect with people. It doesn't necessarily have to be physically, of course, but you can connect with people. You talked a little bit about connecting on Zoom. I've had so many different Zoom parties, birthday parties, Mother's Day parties. We're doing for Mother's Day. We're actually doing a awards show. So like we're getting creative in these times, and you have to stay sane, and it gives you something to do, but it also helps you to connect. And it's so important for you to connect with your friends, not just on the phone. It's something about seeing somebody and seeing, you know, facial expressions. And you know, I'm a hand person. I know you are too. So you can see all of that. You can feel all of that. So just make sure that you're staying connected with your friends. Like I'm staying connected with my friend, and I wanted to kind of share some of our conversations that we have on a regular basis. So I thought that this was something that was powerful. So please let me know if you are enjoying this series. I'm excited about the next week that we have coming. So of course we talked about physical health, but we also need to talk about mental health. So we'll talk a little bit more about that for our next masterclass series next week. So be sure to stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining us on today. Maria, did you have anything else that you wanted to say before we leave out?
No, guys, just do the best you can. Thank you for having me. Do the best you can. If you can get 30 minutes in a day, get it in at home, on Zoom, wherever.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've heard a lot of dance people have done, like different dance routines or maybe Zumba. So it's lots of different opportunities out there.
Yes, that's it. But yeah, thank you again for having me on here. And like you said, we've been friends forever, and I appreciate this time with you. And y'all love y'all friends, love on them, call them, check on them. And even if you hadn't talked to a friend in a while, call and check on your friend.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, and you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy.
Bye.